This is the story of a boy named Urban, who embarks on a magical and thrilling journey in search of an enchanted clock, so that he can marry his beloved, Lara. But this journey is not as easy as he had imagined. A dark sorceress tries her best to stop him. The film begins with two angels descending to Earth. They come to bless a small, innocent child, Urban. As they approach him with a loving smile, a dark witch suddenly appears. Casting a curse on the child, she declares, "This boy will remain poor for the rest of his life." Not only that, the witch proclaims that he will become an orphan and will have to endure countless hardships to find his true love. The angels are shocked by the witch's words, but they do not give up. Using their powers, they bless the child. This boy will have so much compassion in his heart that he will be able to endure every sorrow and pain. His mind will always remain free from greed, and his goodness will set him apart from all others. Now the story moves 5 years ahead, beginning on a dark night. A clockmaker named Victor is riding through the forest in his horse-drawn carriage. Just then, Victor sees the same two angels, glowing in golden light, with a large treasure chest placed before them. They are counting gold coins. Astonished, Victor approaches them and asks, "Who is this treasure for?" The angels look at him with a smile and reply, "This treasure is meant for a young man named Urban, but he will only receive it when he marries your daughter Lara." Victor is left stunned by their words. He is about to ask something more when suddenly he wakes up and finds himself sitting in his carriage. He realizes that perhaps it was just a dream, but then Victor notices a real gold coin stuck beneath his shoe. The moment he picks up the coin, he understands. What happened was not just a dream. Before he can think any further, the same dark witch suddenly appears near Victor. She tries to take the coin from him, but Victor, driven by greed, scolds her and drives her away. He returns home and tells his wife, Lucia, about the strange incident. But Lucia doesn't believe him. She says, "This coin must have just stuck to your shoe somewhere along the way. Don't overthink it." Victor listens to his wife, but he can't take his eyes off the coin. Sitting by the window, he keeps admiring its glow. Suddenly, the coin slips from his hand and falls down onto the path outside. Victor tries to look for it, scanning the area below the window. But just then, his daughter Lara arrives and starts talking to him, distracting his attention. Meanwhile, the coin catches the eye of a poor boy passing by. The boy picks it up and quietly begins to walk away. The moment Victor spots the boy, he immediately rushes after him and catches him. He asks the boy, "Who are you and what's your name?" The frightened boy softly replies, "My name is Urban." The moment Victor hears the name, he immediately recalls what the angels had said about Urban and the treasure. Greed gleams in Victor's eyes. He thinks to himself, "This is the same boy. If I raise him and marry him to my daughter Lara, that treasure will be mine." With this greedy thought in mind, Victor decides to adopt the poor boy and raise him. That night, Victor pulled out a chest from beneath his bed. It was filled with gold coins, something no one in his family knew about. From the very next day, Victor began teaching Urban the art of clockmaking in his shop. Time passed and 15 years went by. On Lara's 20th birthday, Victor announced the wedding of Lara and Urban. The two were deeply in love, and hearing this, they happily agreed to marry. But the very next day, the same dark witch came to Victor. With a chilling tone, she warned him. "The treasure you've been waiting for will never be yours," the witch says, "because the day Urban and Lara get married will be the day you die." Hearing this, the greedy Victor is shaken with fear. He decides to postpone the wedding for a few days. That night, silence filled the air as Victor sat alone in a bar, lost in sorrow. Suddenly, he overhears a group of people talking. They are discussing a magical clock, one that allows its owner to know the exact time of their death. One man says, "The person who once possessed that clock lived for 250 years. Suddenly, the same dark witch appears beside Victor and says, "Send Urban to search for that magical clock. He will never find it, and he won't return either. That way, your life will be saved, and Lara won't be able to marry him. But if he does return with the clock, you'll receive the treasure, and your life will be spared too." Torn between greed and fear, Victor is deeply conflicted. But the witch's words leave him no choice. He returns home and tells Urban, "If you truly wish to marry Lara, you must first find and bring back the magical clock." Poor Urban, full of innocence and hope, ties a note that says "Good Boy" around his dog's collar, and sets off on a journey to find the magical clock. The next morning, Lara returns from her uncle's house. Victor tells her that Urban has left home because the wedding has been canceled. Lara is shocked to hear this and bursts into tears. Meanwhile, Urban had already begun his journey in search of the magical clock. He was passing through a dense forest when two angels appeared before him. They tried to guide him in the right direction. That night, while resting, the dark witch appears before Urban. She says, "I can lead you straight to the magical clock. Don't trust those angels." Urban hesitates for a moment, thinking deeply. Then, ignoring the angels, he decides to follow the dark witch on the path ahead. After several hours of travel, Urban and the witch cross the forest and reach a deserted hotel. The witch stops outside and Urban enters the hotel alone. As soon as he steps inside, his eyes fall on a massive clock. He feels certain that this is the magical clock he had been searching for. Urban approaches the hotel manager and asks about the clock, but the manager, with a mysterious tone, replies, "There's no magical clock here that tells the time of death, but you must leave this place immediately." As the clock strikes 12, its hands begin to move in reverse. Instead of 1, they turn back toward 11. The manager goes on to explain that the hotel is trapped in a time loop. Whoever enters this place can never leave. They become prisoners of the hotel forever. As soon as the clock strikes 12, the trapped souls begin to appear again, fighting with each other in madness and confusion. Urban realizes that this is not a magical clock, but a cursed one, and now he too is caught in the same time loop. Back home, Victor is blinded by greed. He arranges Lara's marriage to the richest, but much older, man in town. Back in the hotel the next day, the clock strikes 12 again, and once more the time loop begins. The same people gather just like before and start fighting all over again. Just then, the two angels appear once again and tell Urban about the curse of the hotel. They say, "There is one way to break this curse. Near the clock, there is a hidden egg. When a cuckoo chick hatches from that egg and, exactly at 12 o'clock, perches atop the clock and calls out, only then will the curse be broken." Urban immediately rushes to the clock and carefully searches for the hidden egg. At last, he finds it tucked away near the gears. As soon as he holds the egg in his hands, it begins to crack slowly, and a tiny cuckoo chick emerges. Urban gently feeds the chick with his hands. The cuckoo begins to grow rapidly right before his eyes. As the clock strikes exactly 12 at night, the cuckoo flies up and perches atop the clock. It begins to sing in a sweet, melodic voice. With that very sound, the curse on the clock is broken, and all the trapped souls in the hotel are finally set free. Having overcome this obstacle, Urban continues on his journey. Meanwhile, Lara finds the same goodbye note tied to her dog's collar. It reads, "Lara, I'm going to find the magical clock, but I promise you, I will return." Reading this, Lara is overcome with emotion. She breaks off her engagement and runs away from the church. Meanwhile, Urban presses forward on his journey. After crossing dense forests and treacherous paths, Urban arrives at a distant town. There, a circus is in full swing. The owner of the circus, Joseph, is a cruel man who treats his performers with great harshness. To attract more crowds, he has locked a man inside a cage, someone whose entire face and body are covered in thick hair. People believe he is a monster and are terrified of him. Just then, the witch appears before Urban once again. She tries to deceive him once more and says, "If you truly want the magical clock, it lies on a mountain where the sun never sets. Reaching it is nearly impossible, but the clock is waiting for you there." But this time, Urban refuses to fall for the witch's words. While wandering through the circus, he reaches the cage where the mysterious monster is imprisoned. The creature, feared by all, pleads with Urban to set him free. Despite the man's beastly appearance, Urban sees the desperation in his eyes and is moved. Just as Urban is about to help him, the cruel circus owner Joseph appears and drives Urban away. That night, the same two angels take Joseph to a pub. They make him drink heavily, so much that he becomes completely intoxicated and passes out cold. Seizing the opportunity, Urban quietly returns to the circus. Urban breaks the lock of the cage and sets the creature free. The two quietly escape from the circus and stop deep within a forest. Sitting under the trees, the creature thanks Urban and hands him a clock. He says, "This is no ordinary clock. Whoever possesses it will know the exact moment of their death. And when that moment draws near, the clock begins to tick louder. Urban realizes that this is the very magical clock he had been searching for through all the hardships of his journey. In a deep, rumbling voice, the creature says, "This clock once belonged to my former master. He was blind, but through his wisdom, he created this magical clock. With its power, he was able to delay his death many times." Urban listened in awe to the creature's story. The creature continued, "My master lived for 250 years with the help of this clock, but one day he forgot to take it with him, and he died. Before his death, he entrusted this clock to me. But because of my terrifying appearance and all this hair, people fear me. That's why this clock is of no use to me." Urban gratefully took the clock into his hands and thanked the creature with sincerity. Then he set off on his journey back home. During his return, there comes a moment when Urban falls into a deep sleep from exhaustion. But when he wakes up, he realizes with shock that the clock has been stolen by the witch. Meanwhile, Lara falls gravely ill. She has stopped eating and drinking, consumed by sorrow and longing for Urban. The witch takes Urban to the top of a high mountain and throws the clock from its peak. With determination and courage, Urban climbs the steep mountain, enduring the harsh terrain. At last, he retrieves the clock. But the moment he lifts it, a divine figure appears before him, the goddess of life and death. She looks at Urban and says, "This clock is no longer of use to you. Your beloved Lara is about to die. Around the goddess swarm black insects, dark, soul-eating creatures that can imprison a person's spirit and bring death." Panicked, Urban asks, "Then what should I do?" The goddess smiles gently and says, "If you can create a new clock, I will show you the way." Without wasting a moment, Urban uses the dry wood around him to craft a new clock. Seeing his determination and skill, the goddess is pleased. She says, "If you reach Lara before this black insect does, her life will be saved." Hearing this, Urban runs toward Lara without delay. Meanwhile, the witch informs Victor that Urban has returned with the magical clock and is now at the hospital to meet Lara. Enraged by this news, Victor decides to kill Urban and begins planning his attack. On the other hand, Urban reaches Lara's bedside at the hospital. Her condition is critical, but just in time, before the black insect arrives, Urban reaches her and saves her life. At that very moment, Victor arrives at the hospital and attempts to attack Urban. But just as he moves forward to execute his plan, Urban's magical clock suddenly begins to ring loudly. The sharp sound alerts Urban, and he instantly senses the danger. Because of this, Victor's attack fails. After the failed attempt, Victor takes the magical clock from Urban. But surprisingly, he allows Urban and Lara to get married. Following the wedding, however, greed once again creeps into Victor's heart. He thinks, why not open this clock, understand its parts, and create many more like it? I could become rich beyond imagination. Driven by this greed, Victor begins trying to open the magical clock. But when Victor opens the clock, he finds nothing special inside, just simple gears and wood. Disappointed, he is about to close it when the clock suddenly begins to ring again. Hearing the sound, Victor feels as though someone is waiting for him at the door. In a rush, he opens the door and steps outside, only to be struck down by the black insect, which kills him instantly. The next morning, the rest of the family finds Victor's lifeless body lying outside the house. After Victor's death, the treasure he had greedily hidden from his family is finally discovered, and rightfully goes to Urban and Lara. Thus, every prophecy made by the angels is fulfilled. Victor died because of his greed and arrogance. Had he chosen wisely, he could have used the clock for good and saved his own life. But his greed clouded his judgment, and in the end, his fate was sealed by his own actions. Urban and Lara were finally together. With their share of the treasure, they began a new life, one built not on greed, but on love, courage, and kindness. The story of Arnab and Lara teaches us that true love, courage, and kindness can overcome even the darkest curses and most dangerous obstacles. I'm just a hardworking creator, trying my best, pouring my heart and soul into every video. If you found even a little bit of value or joy in my work, please consider subscribing to my channel. That one small subscription means the world to me and gives me the strength to keep creating. I'd be so grateful. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.